Hello all you beautiful people. So in today's video I'll be talking about the artifact spirit stone system. It is a new system in Elsword. I know a lot of people will not be able to access all of it yet because they are locked behind, not really locked behind, but you get them from the new dungeon with each cost 3 million combat power. But most of the items are tradable, so you may not be able to do the dungeons, but you can easily buy the materials on the board to actually use it to get a significant power boost. Do I recommend it at the moment? Probably not, because it is very expensive because it's still very new, but you can get a few things for very cheap and it might be worth it for you. So let's talk about it. So with the Spirit Stone system, it's essentially, the best way I can explain it is like sockets for your artifact. Your artifact gear, you put a special socket on it and it will change the type of artifact that it is. You see how mine are all called yellow because they all have yellow stones on it. So, two items that you will need that are very important is the wedge and then the type of spirit stone that you want. So the wedge costs 100 of the materials and then you wedge it with your weapon just like normal, any other normal thing. And then the spirit stone shards are pretty unique. They can either drop from the new dungeons or you can craft them using 500 fragments. If you craft them using 500 fragments, you can pick the stat that you want, and each thing has a different stat. So the circlets have attack, ignore, crit damage, ASD, and polarize, for example. And then the necklace has like all the different types of skill damages, etc., right? However, this will still RNG what the color is. The color will still be RNG even if you use 500 fragments, for better or for worse. If you decide you don't want to craft it, you can use what I'll just call like true RNG. If you use true RNG, it will only cost 100 fragments, but both the color and the stat will be RNG. So something important to note there. So now we have two of the components that we know we can get, and these two components can both be bought on the board. So if we look up artifact spirit stone wedge, very cheap. If you actually want to get the wedge, it's extremely cheap, so you don't have to worry about that. But when it comes to the stone shards, this is where it can get quite expensive. All of these cost a very decent penny, and it just gets more expensive as you go down. If, for example, you want like a bravery thing, if you wanted a bravery stone shard, 200 mil, just for one stone that could be any color, it's a pretty big risk. So again, I don't highly recommend using this system, but if you need a combat power boost, maybe some of the weaker ones, some of the cheaper ones might come in handy for you. Stone shards. For example, like a maximize might come in handy to push you a little bit through, because you will get maximized no matter what, and that might give you the combat power boost that you need. But again, this is 50 mil. It is not cheap. Some of them might be cheap here and there. Yeah, like over here it's down to like, oh, that's the armor though. The armor can be like 19 mil. Let's see if anything's cheaper. Hyperactive damage. Tenacity will give you a little bit of combat power boost. 9 mil. That's not too bad. 9 mil plus the wedge. Less than 20 mil, that's not too bad. Again, little combat power boost there. Not too shabby at all. I'm sorry if you can hear the lightning in the background. There is lightning going on. Ignore, kind of expensive as well. I think all the circlets might be expensive. I mean, all the rings. Yeah, all the rings can be expensive. But that tenacity necklace ain't too bad. Alright. So now that we have the items in mind, something else to note is, what will you be aiming for? So we've gone past the, okay, a little bit of combat power boost. If you just want that, you buy them from people. But what are we aiming for? What are we looking for? If you're DPS, and I'm going to go to an LWiki page here so you guys can kind of see everything a little bit better. Thank you for the devs there, non-wiki. So what are you kind of aiming for? Again, like I said, each of the different gear pieces have different stats. In my opinion, if you don't have an ignore defense skill, I would aim for physical magical attack power increase. 2% pretty nice, and you have 2 rings, so it's going to be 4% total. Pretty solid. If you have an ignore defense skill, like maybe a Dying Galleon, maybe a Rage Hearts, maybe you want some ignore physical magical, I probably wouldn't aim for a crit or ASD personally. And then polarize, you can get a lot of polarize through other sources, so I wouldn't recommend going for it. So I think physical magical is kind of the king here with looking for rings. Circlets, I think it just depends on your class, very class dependent. Either you want the cooldown, I would say you would either want cooldown decrease or you want critical and maximize. The benefit of critical and maximize is these later numbers are essentially a whole socket, a whole sage stone socket on the armor. So if you get a maximized thing for your circlet, that means you can take away one whole socket on your armor and replace it with a boss socket, which would be very, very nice. Artifact armor, personally, I would aim for damage reduction. Damage reduction is something you do not socket. It is something that you probably only got from the artifact, and getting more damage reduction is absolutely fantastic. Getting up to even 5%, 8% would be fantastic. Even 3% is really good because you don't even stack it. Very, very nice. When it comes to the necklace, stack your best skill. If it's bravery, you go bravery. If it's strength, you go strength. I don't think anybody's tenacity, but so you probably be between bravery and strength. Alright, so those are all the actual stats that you can get. Again, you can choose these if you want to use the 500, but another big thing is the set effects themselves. So if you remember, if you looked at me right there when I was showing off my artifact stuff, all my stuff is called yellow artifact ring, yellow artifact circlet, yellow artifact armor, etc, etc. So I went with yellow 5 personally, and in my opinion, if you want to be DPS, that's what you want to aim for. When you awaken, you get critical and maximized buff 8%. Again, like I said here earlier, with that buff, you can give up some sockets, and because these are buffs, it gives you the full value of 8%. It is not affected by normalization or things like that. It's a buff, so it gives you the full 8%. Very, very nice. Awakening charge speed 25%, that's whatever. And upon awakening, physical magical attack 4%. Again, it's a buff, so you get the full value of 4%. And upon awakening, MP cost -10, just a nice little buff there. Very, very good. Blue, I guess if you want to do a tank build, you would go with blue, because you get some nice damage reduction with a 3-piece. Every 8% damage reduction, you get physical magical bonus. Like maybe that'd be for a CC. Maybe if you're a CC, you would go with blue, but not one of the recommended sets. Green is another heavy hitter. Green is just like yellow. Upon using special active, you recover your party's HP and MP by 4% per 500k combat power with a cooldown of 20 seconds. It's a little bit of healing, not too crazy, but a little nice bonus. The best one is it's Green's 3-piece, MP cost -5, and skill cooldown -5. Really good for supports. Really good for almost anyone, actually. Another alternate option that I was using that I was enjoying was yellow 2 and green 3, because you can combine them, which was the awakening and the critical stats, and with the maximized stats, and getting the MP cost -5. I mean, the skill cooldown -5 was really, really nice. And then finally, green 5 is buff to physical magical attack for your whole entire party, up to 4% based on your combat power. Pretty nice for supports. I think if you're a support, you probably want to do a green set. Probably, but still, you know, it's based on what you want. Orange is kind of a midway point. It's not the best, but it's not the worst. So your HP is increased by 5% when you get into an environmental debuff dungeon. That means any dungeon that uses adaptation, your HP will be increased by 5%, so you can be a little bit more tanky. Again, adaptation is also here at a 3-piece effect. And when you do damage to bosses, you have 10% more boss damage if it's an adaptation dungeon. I don't know how this is calculated, if it's just normal boss damage, or if it's like a modifier on top of it. I'm not sure, but maybe it's just 10% boss damage in adaptation dungeon. And the fact that these two are tanking stats, I mean, it makes it good. It's definitely good for damage, but I don't think it'll be as effective as yellow, because again, yellow has that critical maximized 8%, which that means you can replace some sockets with boss damage anyway, which is what this gives you. And then of course you get that physical magical 4. So I do think yellow ends up being the better one, but orange is not too shabby if you want a combination of tank and some solid damage. Red is with blue and kind of the lower tiered stuff. It's a weird thing. So you'll have subtracted damage reduction by 2%, but you will deal a continuous bleed effect, or an HP burn rather, to the enemy based on 1% of your damage. The issue with this, however, it is based on what your actual damage is after being affected by buffs and debuffs. So it's good because it's affected by your buffs, but it's bad because it's affected by your debuffs, aka it is affected by adaptation. I have personally tested this. Unfortunately, red is affected by adaptation, so you don't do your pure damage. It's just damage based on what you do. So gives you some polarized as well, damage reduction 4, and deals continuous damage of 2% for 3 seconds. So in total, you deal 3% of your weapon's damage for 3 seconds, just whenever you do any damage. It's pretty much saying boost all your skills by 3% for 3 seconds. So that's 3 times 3, that's 9%. So with this, you would be doing 9% more damage. Yeah, it's just kind of mediocre. You lose some like 6% damage reduction in total, but you can stack polarize through other means. Not the best, unfortunately, not the best. I still think yellow comes out on top, and even orange I feel like would be a little bit better as well. So yeah, there you go. Those are the explanations of all the set effects. I think yellow and green are kings. Blue has very niche uses, maybe for CC. Orange is okay, and then I would not even think about doing for red, unless I'm wrong and it turns out red is the best one. I don't know. It's just a weird thing. But I do think yellow and green are the kings. Yellow for DPS and green for buffers. Okay. And I feel like, to be honest, that's it. It's a very simple system, but it is a very effective system. Even I'm seeing the benefits of it already, and it's really, really good. I'm pretty good with the stats that I have. You see I have magical attack here, some cooldown here, bravery here. This could be damage reduction. It's HP right now, but I really wish it was damage reduction. But even then, I'm seeing the benefits of it. And real quick, I did want to show you guys, to prove you guys that they are buffs. The things we were getting earlier. If you go into any dungeon here, as soon as you awaken, you will be getting these amazing buffs. MP cost decrease, physical magical power increase, and critical maximize increase. So as you can see, they're all buffs, which means that the set effects unfortunately do not give you more combat power, but it is better because they are a buff, meaning they're multiplicative, not additive, or whatever you call it. But yeah, it's very, very, very good set. If you cannot access the dungeons, so two last things. If you can't access the dungeons, maybe you want to try to get a little something. Just get what you can get. Don't spend too much money on it because it can be a bit of a money sink at the moment. If you just want a little bit of combat power, again, go for the wedge, go for a tenacity necklace if you have a necklace. And then that's be okay. The second tip I want to give you guys is when it comes to when you first get the system, like what do I do? You're overwhelmed by like all these stats, like what do I aim for? The best thing you can do, this is a two-step process, is just do the pure RNG version until you get all the colors that you want. Get the colors first. Colors are more important because they're consistent. No matter what, you're going to get the full benefit of the color sets. So get the color you want first using the pure RNG method, which only costs 100. And then after you get that, refine it with the craftable ones, costing 500 each. So for example, I would aim for yellow 5, and then as I don't have damage reduction, for example, after that point, now I'm aiming to make damage reduction, and I'm praying to get a yellow damage reduction. That's how you do that skillfully. And one final tip, because you guys watched this video to this point, I want to reward you guys a little bit. So because the system is so new, and because the artifacts, and because of the system existing, that means artifacts are more valuable, and the most important artifact that is more valuable is the artifact necklace. Giving skill damage is very, very powerful, and it goes up to 5%, which is a very high number. However, necklace was seen as the worst artifact before, so not many people have one. Because it's so useless before and so useful now, that means artifact necklaces are skyrocketing in price, guys. Absolutely skyrocketing in price. So I want to give you guys this tip. If you watch the whole video, I want to reward you guys. Farm the artifact necklace. I know Master can be very, very difficult, but Nasad Testing Chamber, very fast dungeon to do, can be very difficult. Solace, not too bad, but again, can be kind of difficult. And I think there's one more necklace dungeon. And then Ventus is very annoying. So unfortunately, they are kind of like the most annoying dungeons, but Adrian can be very, very fast, very easy if you have a good geared person with you. And of course, you can always go normal mode. Normal mode, I'm not sure if the drop rate is less or whatever, but you can still drop these in normal mode. So if you have extra stamina and you're not using it for anything, guys, just bust through a couple normal modes and you might get an artifact necklace. 600 mil per pop. That's definitely worth a couple days of just using your normal stamina anyway and doing a couple of normal modes. It is definitely worth it. High ED benefit. Absolutely crazy. More than half a mil. I mean, more than half a billion. Absolutely insane. But that is it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoy the artifact system. Artifact Spirit Stone system whenever you can use it, whether it be today, tomorrow, or who knows how many months. But still, hope you're able to enjoy it and make use of it, because I do very, very enjoy it. I enjoy the system a lot. It's so much better than imprinting too. Oh my goodness. But yeah, that is it for me, guys. Have yourselves a fantastic day, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.